First of all, I'll talk of the inertia, the unwillingness of organizational institutions to change. Well, in physics, we call it inertia. If you allow me to call it inertia to change from what people have been doing to what they are supposed to do, then that one I can use. Then the other issue is about funding. For us to practice meaningful agriculture, we need tools that are associated with the conservation agriculture. It is not possible to continue doing conservation agriculture with the rudimentary tools that people are used to. We need to change and go to the precision machinery that is required to practice agriculture. This requires funding. The other one is the scale of the work. We know that it is possible for small-scale farmers to practice conservation agriculture. But the investments that are associated with it may be a bit of a problem to them. And that is why also the government has a contingency plan of bringing the private sector to be the owners of the machinery that can assist the farmers to private and be conservation agriculture. And to this end, the government is actually regrouping farmers into cooperatives, into groups that can actually be able to receive funds, groups that can be able to plan their work, groups that can also be funded so that they can be able to possess and own, or better still, lease or hire those tools that are required for conservation agriculture. I would also wanted to extend this appeal to the county governments. A lot of what is being funded in the counties is mostly infrastructure that can be seen. And whereas infrastructure is good and is quite important, we would also appeal for some exploration to see whether they can actually be able to fund the soft skills that are required, especially in extension, and also in social interaction, so that farmers can be able to benefit from this. In other words, I'm saying that extension services funding has reduced in many counties, and with the reduction of extension services, then the reach out to the farmers is slightly reduced. And this has hindered now the passing of the messages to the farmers, and especially that contact that would require direct contact between extension officers and farmers has reduced. And with the reduction of this one, then it means that the message is not going to go through. And as we do this, then we think that when the tools come in and when technology changes in, the youth will also be able to be attracted and to bring new energies to agriculture rather than depend entirely on the past ways we used to do with the elderly people who are averaging around 64 years now. We need to reduce this one to be able to bring energy to agriculture.
It's taken a long time for adoption, and there's a lot of factors of why CA is not being adopted in Kenya. And some have to do with mechanization, a lack of mechanization. Others have to do that there's a mindset that not tilling the soil is not the right thing to do. Covering the soil, which by the way, there's not enough mulch material available often to cover the soils. Instead, so we now have a lack of mulch material, and even that mulch material can be animal feed. So why give it to the soil when we can give it to the animal? So those are just a few constraints we have in adoption. Conservation agriculture comes with many other factors that will make it successful. And one of them that we believe as World Renew is participatory approach, where the community identifies the needs, not just the agricultural, but any need they have from the start. And we're already thinking of phasing out wells. So the problem with many of the development partners is they don't think about the phase out. They don't think about the participation and the ownership of the programs. So it's very important for the community to identify that from the very beginning and feel ownership, feel like they're a part of their own development. So that is key. Then we also have other elements. Can make it more lucrative and make it more interesting for people, especially young people, which have not adopted it. And that is irrigation. If we have small irrigation kits, techniques, especially off-season, the people can produce high-value crops like onions, tomatoes, and so forth, sukuma, managu. So that will give them an extra income that will help them. There's another one that is, can we have village savings and loans initiatives so that the community not only relies on the irrigation and the money, but they save the money so that in, as we say in Kenya, in rainy months, they can be used for medicine, for school fees, for even buying seeds and agricultural inputs for themselves.
The biggest challenges that we have when it comes to conservation agriculture and the many other sustainable practices is sometimes the confused messages that are there. We have quite a lot of conflicting messages, and all of them basically nearly mean the same thing. The intention is the same. So you will hear somebody talk about conservation agriculture, another one talk about regenerative agriculture, another one climate smart agriculture. But when you look down into the real message that is behind these practices, is basically the same. And that's why I emphasize on outcome. What can we present to the farmers to understand that bundle these practices together, you will see the outcomes that are desired. That comes in with a lot of knowledge and educating the farmers on the importance of conservation agriculture and the practices. The second thing, mechanization, where mechanization is involved. Sometimes the initial stages of conservation agriculture is considered labor intensive. But when you look at it, you are able to graduate over time. So being able to address the labor-related issues through mechanization is one way of making sure that we overcome that challenge of lack of mechanization. And we have various equipment for smallholder farmers and for the middle-level farmers and the large-scale farmers. And each farmer can see themselves in that space of CA mechanization. The challenge that we can also look at in terms of conservation agriculture is one where we need to connect this to markets. If we don't connect any technology to markets, it's very difficult to really scale it. And so we need to connect conservation agriculture to the market opportunities that there are for the various commodities, so that the commodity market drives the interest to invest into conservation agriculture.